Hello and welcome to another episode of Pastor's Library. My name is Stephen Redman and this is the channel where we talk about everything to do with theology books, and maybe in just a short 10-minute visit to a Pastor's Library we can advise you on books at a good value, books that maybe offer something a little bit more than their competition. If you like what we have to say, we ask you to give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please subscribe. It costs nothing, but it helps promote the channel. And if you click on the bell, you will be amongst the very first to know when we launch a new episode, which might save you a bit of time looking. So today I want to talk about my favourite commentaries on the book of Leviticus. Leviticus, one of the most exhilarating books in the Bible. How many times do you talk to new Christians who say they have just been converted by reading Leviticus? I maybe should be a little bit more cautious in my stance there. But you know, Leviticus has an awful lot in it. And sometimes as Christians we can just ignore it because it reads primarily like a long list of prohibitions. But actually it's very, very helpful in his understanding, particularly the New Testament redeeming death of Jesus, and we learn so much from Leviticus. It was also really a presentation of laws to Israel in its time. So I've got a few commentaries to suggest to you that you should look at, think about. The first one is the New Interpreter's Bible. Now this is a book I often refer to because it's actually very good value. These big solid volumes contain commentaries on several individual books, often some other background information, and they might not be cheap, but for what you're getting in there, they can work out to be quite good value for money. So the volume 1 of the New Interpreter's Bible, which has got a general article on the Pentateuch, and it's got Genesis, Exodus and Leviticus. Genesis and Exodus are particularly renowned in this volume. One's Fretheim, one's Brueggemann. These are brilliant commentaries. The whole volume was published in 1994, which of course at the time of videoing this means it's 29 years old. So it's bordering a little bit on whether you should quote this in an essay. But this gives you 208 pages on the book of Leviticus. It's written by Walter Kaiser, and I have to say to you, this is a good read. Because I am so much in favour of this volume, because of the entrance of Terence Fretheim and Walter Brueggemann, I have to say I have used Kaiser more because they're in here than Kaiser himself. But I have to say to you, I've been very impressed with what he's written, and this is a worthwhile introduction. And although it's starting to date a little bit, I would say just keep your eyes out for an update. But in the meantime, it still represents something valid in Levitical studies. My next one would normally be one of my top choices. It's the New International Commentary on the Old Testament, and this is the Book of Leviticus by Gordon J. Wenham. The Wenhams, of course, have had a tremendous influence on theology for the last couple of generations. And Gordon Wenham here has presented one of his great theological tomes, 362 pages, but this is 44 years old. 44! 1979 this was published. There doesn't appear to be a revised version, so I would suggest to you this must be right near the top of the list of NICOT volumes that are about to be replaced, and I will very much look forward to reviewing its replacement. All I can say to you is all the other commentaries out there refer to Wenham. Wenham's in the bibliography, Wenham's in the quotes, Wenham's listed at the foot of the page, and whether this is 44 years old or not, whether or not this would be given a tick by your examiner in your bachelor's or master's degree, that isn't quite the point. I think this is considered to be a really excellent volume. When I read this, though, I do find just certain inadequacies in the language compared to more modern volumes. And so I am genuinely looking forward to an update, but no one is going to pull away my Gordon Wenham Leviticus commentary from my hand. A more modern commentary is the Apollos commentary, which was 2007. This is by Nobuyoshi Kiyuchi, which I hope I have said something like. But this is really a good commentary. Layout is excellent. It's 538 pages, are packed with information. I have only got one criticism of this. It was published in 2007, but its overall language is very similar to Wenham's in 1979, if not a little bit more dated. I'm sort of suggesting that this reads like something that's 40 or 50 years older than it actually is. And some of that, I would suggest, is perhaps for the American market, which is more conservative than the British market, that perhaps certain words tend to be couched in meaning and metaphors used, and the language just tends to be a little bit less explicit. And when you've got sections on, for example, on sexual purity, skin diseases and things like that, which you can understand, discrete language wouldn't be unreasonable, I just would suggest to you it's a little bit over the top in a volume that came out in 2007. But if you can push your way through that, this is an academic volume. It's good. It has a lot to offer. This would not be my favourite, but this is worthwhile. I'm glad I've got it on the bookshelf. I do and will consult it. I'm just suggesting I think the language is slightly dated. Now I want to go on to the books that are my favourite four. In fourth position is Roy Gaines' NIVAC, New International Version Application Commentary, published in 2004. This is a very hefty volume, 846 pages. Now, you know that the theory behind this series is that the emphasis is on the application, modern application of the text. Now, I have to say that when it comes to Leviticus, NIVAC is probably working better than in any other volume, because every application is dealt with and every ancient practice. And I have to say, I find this riveting, actually. I find it very engaging. This is a very good commentary. And when we're living towards the end of the first quarter of the 21st century, I find this is very, very much more helpful than perhaps the language of the last two that I mentioned to you. So this is a worthwhile investment. Here we go with my top three. This is the Story of God commentary. Now, this is a fairly recent commentary. It's not complete yet, but I've got, about 15 volumes of this series on my bookshelf, and I find them all good. This, however, is really good. Published in 2021, it's 393 pages. Layout is excellent. Use of text boxes and inserts and headings is top-notch. This is designed to engage the reader, and it is fairly accessible, whereas this commentary is sort of at the lower end of academic. It is good, and I find it a very engaging product. So when we're looking here at the slightly more sensitive issues, let's say again sexual purity and things like that. This is a very clear, explicit, cleverly, properly use of language. This is helpful. And I would suggest to you, whatever you want to know about the book of Leviticus, this is one volume to maybe try first. It really is excellent. I would say that almost anybody can access this. And the good hardback design, this is going to last you years. It's a great investment for your bookshelf. Coming up now to my top two. And here would be my second choice. This is the New Beacon Bible Commentary on Leviticus. It's written by Thomas J. King. It was published in 2013. So at the time of videoing this, it's 10 years old. 286 pages. Brilliant layout, very accessible, very clear. This is a brilliant commentary. At 286 pages, there are thicker commentaries out there. I would say to you, I am not convinced that most of them that are thicker are any better. I find this commentary series is helpful overall, but for me, this is probably the first one I go to. I am becoming very much more enamored with the story of God, but this series, the Story of God series, these are great go-to commentaries for me. Like most NBBC ones, these are available quite affordably. These are great paperback commentaries that will enrich your ministry as a pastor or your studies as a student. I can't see how you could find anything wrong with them. My top choice is an academic commentary, a technical commentary, and it's the Word Biblical Commentary. Originally published in 1992, which would make it 31 years old, 516 pages by John E. Hartley, who has been a tremendous commentator, wrote the New International Commentary on the Old Testament on Job, one of the best commentaries on Job, and this one, which was updated in 2015, a revised version which is almost 80 pages longer. This is a brilliant commentary. This goes into everything at detail. This goes into the original Hebrew, which I appreciate. If your Hebrew is not very good, that might not be brilliant. But I find I can read this without necessarily needing to be able to read the Hebrew and not miss anything. I just find it really brilliant. Hartley is a great mind, a great heart. He is an eminent theologian who has offered the church some great insights over the years. And this particular commentary, in its revised edition, 2015, I would suggest to you must be the absolute best Levitical commentary on the market today. Now, the Word Biblical Commentaries have been acquired by Zondervan. Zondervan are revising, renewing them. So watch what happens. You might find that this sort of binding becomes cheaper as they release a new version. But then you might find they actually revise it again or in some way even change the author. So watch for that. But at 2015, this is going to be in date for a long time, and it's a great book, and I entirely endorse it to you. This, I would suggest to you, is the best technical commentary on the book of Leviticus. I hope that helps you. If it does, give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Remember to click on the bell and leave a comment too. I try to get back to everyone who leaves a comment. May God bless you, and I'll say goodbye until next time. Bye!